Mr. Mirel, first of all, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
The president of Bulgaria said thank you and refused to go to Paris to talk with French President Macron on the topic of North Macedonia. How do you commend this move?
Well, disappointed is a very weak expression on my side. My understanding is that the nationalist forces are still winning in Bulgaria, and I'm really appalled by that situation. I would even say that, in my view, this is an anti-European attitude for 2 or 3 reasons. First, because we know that, we have discussed it already, this has been mentioned by several member states, identity issues, such as the one that Sofia is pushing for Skopje to accept, identity issues, they don't belong to the accession criteria. We never had that during, the past accession processes. Second, and this is a very important point that I'd like to make, in this period of time, after COVID-19, where EU 27 member states have shown solidarity, with each other in accepting this recovery plan, and Bulgaria is going to benefit greatly from this recovery plan, then it should be the turn of Bulgaria to show solidarity with the 26 who are all in favor of opening accession negotiations, and show solidarity with a future member of the EU, namely North Macedonia. So it's really very disappointing, very surprising that and the third reason I'd like to mention, I've never seen a country, a member of the EU, having problems, whether they are bilaterals or any others, in accepting a common position. I've never seen such a situation where the member state would refuse to discuss with the presidency, France this time, and even more so, it's not just president. I understand that Prime Minister Petkov has made a declaration 2 or 3 days ago where he says, well, mediation, yes, it's fine, it's easy. Easy, what do you mean? Well, it means that that Skopje has to accept the Bulgaria's framework of mediation, meaning to align itself to our position. I mean, this is unbelievable. I've never seen that before. I'm sorry.
It is already placed in the public because in this period Skopje is negotiating with Sofia, that there is a French proposal, some kind of modification of the Portuguese proposal for a solution between North Macedonia and Bulgaria. Were you able to see it?
No, I'm sorry, I did not see it. I don't know. No.
What are your views about June? Is there a chance for a date for opening negotiations? What more can Macron do?
Well, my understanding is that the French president, together with the Germans and with Charles Michel, are going to spend, a large part of the European Council on unblocking this situation. That's my understanding from a few days ago. So they're going to put all efforts in discussing that. On top of course, discussing the opinions of the Commission on membership application for Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. But they intend to put an emphasis on Bulgaria, North Macedonia issue. Are they going to succeed? I very much hope. After such a long time, after how many, 3, 4 presidencies trying, it's high time to do it, and in particular in view of, or at least keeping in mind, the situation in Ukraine. This is insane. I mean, this is not understandable.
Yes. President Macron came up with an idea, European political community. Mm-hmm. Should Macedonia enter if the veto remains after June in this community?
you have to separate the two, enlargement and this European political community. And Macron made it clear twice. Once at the press conference after his speech at the Parliament, and a few days ago, I think it was on the 13th of May, if I'm not mistaken, where he clearly said that this has nothing to do with the enlargement process to the Balkans, that will continue. So this European political community, the idea, although we've not seen yet, any details, in my view, it's a good thing. Why am I saying that? Because in front of what's happening in Ukraine and Russia's aggression, etc., I think it's good to have a kind of continental sense of belonging and solidarity. I have published a paper 10 days ago saying that this community should encompass the 27, the 6 Western Balkans, and the 3 candidates from further east. To do what? Twice a year, after the European Council meetings, to have a separate side meeting with all these additional countries, to be debriefed on the European Council, what has been discussed, included. Second, to launch any continental new initiatives, transport, energy, security, what have you. And third, to give, as I said, this sense of global belonging to a continental family. So completely different from enlargement. So answering your direct question, my answer is yes. My answer is yes, even if the negotiations are not...
you're talking about the parallel processes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Enlargement process will continue.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
You are considered as one of the creators of the French methodology. Are you maybe mad or angry of Bulgaria, because this didn't start actually to apply due to the blockage to Skopje and Tirana?
Of course I am. But now I have published an article in which I'm pleading for going further in terms of methodology. When the French presented what is known as their non-paper in 2019, that led to the new methodology, they had included in their non-paper the idea that during the pre-accession process, the candidates should receive the post-accession funds. Let me just briefly explain. When you join the EU, all of a sudden, you receive billions of euros as a new member. And it takes 4, 5, 6 years before any country is in a position to absorb these funds. You look at Croatia, Poland before, Hungary. It takes an awful lot of time because it's all of a sudden a kind of cash machine giving you billions that you can't absorb. My idea, and that was the initial idea of the French, but not retained by the Commission in its methodology, my idea is to now revert to that possibility. In other words, when accession negotiations are open, then the candidate, the negotiating country, would get 20 and then 30 and then 40% of the so-called structural fund, cohesion fund, leading to 100% by the time of accession. So, the growing allocation of funds along the reforms. The more you do, the more you get.
Do you think it will be accepted?
Well, Charles Michel is in favor. Charles Michel made a speech 2 weeks ago. He said,
what about the French president or German or Olaf Scholz?
The French I know very well, like this idea. And it seems that there's been some sympathy in Berlin for this idea, and the same in Austria and a couple of other countries. It makes sense because you need the funds now during your pre-accession phase, because otherwise you have to wait for 10, 15 years before you join, and only at the very end you get the billions of euros. But you need that money now. And look at today. If you compare today Bulgaria, Serbia, I'm using Bulgaria because it's the same population, more or less same size as Serbia. Bulgaria is getting 6 times more than Serbia. One is in, the other one is not. This is unfair. And also, by continuing this approach, the gap, the economic gap between members and non-members will continue to widen. So we are pleading, a couple of us, pleading for changing that and providing the post-accession during the pre-accession funds. But of course, along the reforms. If you don't make any reforms, you don't get more funds. Yes. We think it's more logical, much more logical.
Yes, we have actually a different problem now because North Macedonia can't even start the negotiation process. Do you think that if the blockage remains, Tirana alone it should start the negotiations with you to separate the package?
I would love negotiations to be open with Albania, no doubt about that. But I think it should not. The EU should maintain the two in order to put additional pressure on Sofia, because if Albania is accepted and not North Macedonia, then in Sofia they may say, we can continue like that. So I think an additional pressure would be extremely positive and useful.
Yes. Mr. Mirel, you attended a conference on Western Balkans last week, I think. What was discussed in Paris about Western Balkans on this conference?
Well, actually, I mean, the various topics, the usual topics, accession negotiations and impact of Ukraine war, etc. But the amazing thing is that I was asked to present this new approach of what is known as staged accession, accession by step, with the post-accession fund providing during pre-accession. And as soon as I presented that, then the whole debate turned around this new approach, which was very well received. It was very well received by the countries present.
Yes, Mr. Mirel, thank you for your time today, and thank you for the interview.
That was a pleasure. Thank you very much, and let's hope for the best during the European Council. Yes. That's my deep hope. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.